swear. This is a warning. The Grim Reaper of radio, Bob Romanik, with his off-the-record show is about to air. He's probably the nastiest and craziest son of a bitch that you've ever had the misfortune to encounter. The Grim Reaper show will be very controversial and probably quite tasteless. If you are even slightly offended by controversial matter concerning religion, racial matters, politics, or life's problems, you are hereby warned to turn this program off immediately. The Grim Reaper show will be, like his face, very scary and very ugly. At this time, not proudly, but shamefully presents to you Bob Romanik, the craziest son of a bitch on the radio today.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM. Insane broadcasting, your guardian of the First Amendment, America's bi-state voice of freedom. Radical Radio, and we are, as always, proud to be the Patriot. Good Tuesday morning, everybody. I've got a couple guests in with me today, and I'm honored and privileged, as always, to have Mayor Carl Officer, and we're going to mix it up a little bit about Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, and we're going to talk about that. Feel free to give us a call. We are America's voice of freedom. Definitely the Patriot. You can call toll free 1-888-394-1430. On the east side, 394-1190, and we can mix it up. I'm a white guy talking racial issues. I'm by far a racist. I'm a realist. And if there's a problem, we need to address it. We need to all come together. And speaking of coming together, an honored guest, a great friend, not only of mine, but of the good people, I said the good people of East St. Louis, a beautiful lady inside and out, Mrs. Dorothy Joshway. She's a community activist. I'm sure if you get the News Democrat, you'll see her editorials, semi-editorials, because she's got the guts. She's a very, very nice lady, but I won't say what I think she's got more than most men, because she's a nice gal, and I won't go there, but she's not afraid to speak her piece. She's been speaking her piece. She's been trying to help the community of East St. Louis get out of the drolls that it's in. And I think Dorothy will do that till the day she dies, because she is an honorable lady and she's fighting the fight. She's going to be with us momentarily also. Before we get going on our community service, I have to say I reached out to Mayor Seth Spicer a little bit ago, and he was pretty upset. He was upset over the passing of the Freeburg High School superintendent. Hell, young man, 46 years old, Andrew Lehman. And I talked with Mayor Spicer from Freeburg, and he said he just wanted to send him and his families and the entire community of Freeburg their condolences and prayers to have a loss of such a great man. All the students, everyone in the Freeburg School District loved the superintendent, Andrew Lehman. And Mayor Spicer said, Bob, I just wish you would let all the people know what a great man and a great leader for his community and his school. Said he's going to be gravely missed by all the students, faculty, friends, family. And Mayor Spicer just wanted to say that him and his family's condolences and prayers go with the Lehman family, as does, and the mayor speaks for everybody in Freeburg. For everyone in Freeburg, the prayers and thoughts go out to the Andrew Lehman family. They say he was a great superintendent. I don't know how he passed or why he passed. I don't know if he had an illness, but I know it comes to a shock when someone passes, no matter if they've been ill for 10 years. I mean, when the passing comes, it's not a pretty sight, as we all know. But again, the Andrew Lehman family, we here at the radio station, Carl Officer, me, all of our employees would like to also send our condolences and thoughts to the Lehman family, because after talking to Mayor Spicer, if this Mr. Lehman was that good a guy, I would have liked to known him. But again, everybody's condolences to the Lehman family, and Mayor Spicer wanted to make it heard throughout the community that Mr. Lehman's going to be sorely missed by everyone. So, Mayor Spicer, thank you for your condolences, and everybody, speaking for everybody in Freeburg as the mayor. I want to thank you also. Let's go ahead and get done with our housekeeping, and then we're going to go to our two good friends, Mrs. Dorothy Joshway and Mr. Carl Officer. I'm going to rant and rave a little bit. I got a headache today, so maybe by me having a headache, I won't give you guys a headache. I want to say the Granite City Braves baseball team will be holding their tryouts on Sunday, July the 17th, this Sunday at 2 o'clock p.m. in Granite City. Tryouts will be held at the Hartford Community Park and are open to any boy born on or after May the 1st, 2005. They would ask that you would contact Coach Josh Mills at 618-823-7070 in order to register. And Tim Spieswalk, thank you very much. The Freeburg Police and Public Safety fundraiser coming up this Saturday, July the 16th, a 4-person scramble at Clinton Hills Golf Course. This is the Help the Canine Corps in Freeburg, Illinois. And if you have any questions or concerns, like to get involved and help the good people out of Freeburg, help with their Canine Corps and their police department, you can contact Matt Trout. He's one of the honored trustees out in Freeburg. He's the Emerald Greens Golf Course head golf professional. And you can reach him at 618-410-8077. Our good friend and who we support, Mr. Roger Cook, candidate for St. Clair County Board Chairman, and Dallas Cook, candidate for St. Clair County Circuit Clerk, having their golf tournament fundraiser, the 4-man scramble, will be held Thursday, July the 21st. It will be held at the Archers Golf Course in Belleville, Illinois. The reception will be at Cutter's afterwards. If you have any questions or concerns, you can contact Jessica at 618-301-7484. Come celebrate with us this Saturday, July the 16th, the 70th anniversary of the VFW in Redbud, Post 6632, their 70th year. And I want to thank Gary and Virgil not only for giving me this information, but also not only for being a listener, but also and foremost, first and foremost, being Vietnam vets. So Gary and Virgil out at Redbud, thank you guys very much. Their 70th anniversary for VFW Redbud Post 6632 will be held Saturday, July the 16th. If you have any questions or concerns, you can contact 618-708-1336. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for your service to our great country. Don't forget, you can pick me up on iTunes. Type in Bob Romanik and or the Grim Reaper of Radio. You can go to our streaming site, insanebroadcasting.com. One word, common spelling for the best of all 3 of our great stations. You can listen to my repeat performance every day at 4 o'clock p.m., Monday through Friday. And now broadcasting from the graveyard to the graveyard shift every night at the stroke of midnight. Please like us on Facebook, KQQZ 1190 AM, or our sister station, the best in the golden oldies, KZQZ 1430 AM. You can go to my personal Facebook page, Fans of the Grim Reaper. I think they've started a Bob Romanik for State Representative Facebook, and I don't know what the hell's on there, but you can go there and give me your comments, give me your thoughts, give me the cuss finger. They call it, when they flip you off, they're calling that the cuss finger. So you can give me the cuss finger. I get that a little bit when I drive down to the enemy camp. But first and foremost, go to the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition on Facebook. That's where you'll get all the political information, political entertainment, and the political insight of everything that's going on throughout our community. On this date, July the 12th, 1859, the paper bag manufacturing machine was patented by William Goodell of Massachusetts. And I got to say, that's probably the best invention ever, because I had a few of my girlfriends say, I'll have sex with you, Bob, but I got to put a paper bag over my head. So I'm going to thank William Goodell for making and manufacturing the paper bag. On this date, July the 12th, well, great date, July the 12th, 1909, Congress passed a resolution for the 16th Amendment authorizing the imposition of income taxes. Well, great. On this date, July the 12th, 1928, the first televised tennis match was broadcast, and I wish it was the last one. Who the hell watches tennis? Watch that ball go back and forth and back and forth. I thought I was an idiot. Anybody to watch tennis on television, unless they got nothing else in the world to do, I don't know. I think I'd rather, no, I can't say that. I was going to say, I'd rather see someone picking their nose. It's be just as interesting as watching tennis, but anyway, we'll leave it at that. On this date, July the 12th, 1954, Sam Phillips, owner of Sun Records in Memphis, signed 19-year-old truck driver Elvis Presley to a recording contract. On this date, July the 12th, 1954, the Major League Baseball Association was founded. On this date, July the 12th, 1957, the Attorney General announced that a scientific link between cigarette smoking and lung cancer had been established. On this date, July the 12th, 1957, President Eisenhower became the first president in office to ride in a helicopter. That's what happened on this date, July the 12th, throughout all these years in our world's history. I want to thank everybody in Lebanon. We were out at the parade last week, and especially the Lebanon Fire Department for being so gracious and hospitable when we were out there. And salute all the Lebanon volunteer firemen, firefighters, and Richard Smith, thank you, and everybody. Thanks for the information. You guys had a great parade. It's a great town. Thank you again for your hospitality. Now, I got here. You heard me yesterday. Tom Gibbons. He's the state's attorney of Madison County. This gentleman, not him, but a gentleman, because he's not a gentleman, he's a politician. And I met the guy a few times. I kind of liked him until he started this crap. You heard the story yesterday, and this affects all of us. This regular John Q. citizen got a ticket, a speeding ticket, $125. Get your pen out and your paper. $125 ticket. It wasn't submitted to the circuit clerk by the police department in the 48-hour time period that the law says it should be submitted. So this gentleman, this public person, John Q. Public, went to court, was his own attorney. The judge said, yeah, it's supposed to be put in within 48 hours. That's the law. We all have to follow the law. Judge dismissed it in the circuit court in Madison County and Edwardsville. So Tom Gibbons, the state's attorney, said, no, we're not going to let a citizen get the best of us. We're going to show them. So Tom Gibbons appealed a $125 ticket down to Mount Vernon, Illinois. Had to tie up the court system, taxpayers' dollars, tie up this gentleman's missing work at the job for $125. Other than saying, hey, the citizen was right, let's move on. The case is dismissed. Tom Gibbons, the Madison County, and Gibbons, if you've got a take on that, give me a call. Toll free, 1-888-394-1430 on the east side, 394-1190. Takes it to the appellate court. Now, he's the big shot, educated attorney, the state's attorney of Madison County. This John Q. Public gentleman takes it to the appellate court in Mount Vernon and beats the state's attorney at the appellate level. More money, more courts tied up when there's serious crap going on in our counties. Wins it at the appellate level. The appellate judges say, yeah, the law says 48 hours. It wasn't submitted to the circuit clerk, so it's dismissed. So other again than the state's attorney, Tom Gibbons, saying, okay, well, sir, you won this one. You're a citizen. We're glad that it worked out the way it did. You saved $125. Gibbons takes it. Now listen, people. Like they took my case. They took this case all the way to the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court. 2.5 years, I guess it took. I bet you it's $100,000 in legal fees, in time, and taxpayers' money, tying up the court system in the Supreme Court in Springfield, Illinois. Now the Supreme Court judges say, well, even though it says 48 hours, it didn't hurt the defendant. So they remanded the case back to the courts. Now, I don't know what's happened on this case, but you people understand. See, these politicians, they're going to show us, they're going to screw us with our money. There was no sense of doing that. Now, I know Gibbons is going to say, well, it set a precedent. If we let him get away with it, other people will. And I say, hell yes, you're right. If the law says 48 hours, get it up there in 48 hours, because if the law tells us we have to speed, and I'm not casting a bad light on police officers. The politicians make police officers look bad because they put police officers in bad situations. But if it says 30 miles an hour and I'm doing 40, and I've done that before, guess what? Bam, I get a ticket. It's the law. And I say, yeah, that's the law. Here, I'll pay my ticket, get court supervision, move on. But these politicians are going to show us. And I just think how egregious that is for Gibbons to do that. And you guys have heard, and I'm not much on Collinsville, but there's Cheryl Bromovich. She was a former Collinsville city clerk who misused city credit cards for personal purchases. I remember reading that in the paper. And now she's a city council member, and she's suing the city for releasing statements about her. Gibbons has said he will not prosecute her, but he's going to prosecute a guy on a $125 ticket. See, that's what's wrong with these asswipe, no-count, good-for-nothing son of a bitches. And I tell you, it's as bad in Madison County as it is in St. Clair County. And once St. Clair County straightened out, the Freedom Coalition's coming right up to Madison County, because Madison County's got a bunch of asswipe politicians, too. And it's amazing, people. You know what amazes me? We the people, let these son of a bitches get away with it. We sit there and bitch all day long. We sit there and moan and groan. And then every 2 years, every 4 years, like sheep, they herdle us and cattle us into the polls, and we vote the way they want us to vote. That's unbelievable, people. We've got to put a stop to that. And I think this November we can do that. But how egregious, how atrocious is Tom Gibbons, the Madison County State's attorney, to do some stupid crap like this just because he can. And that just really, really, really pisses me off. Well, everything usually pisses me off. Where else we want to go? I'll tell you what, that's not time for a break. With me today, a great friend, a beautiful lady inside and out, Mrs. Dorothy Joshway, a community activist, a community leader in East St. Louis. Dorothy, it is an honor and a privilege, because I know you're here. You'll speak your piece. You write your piece in the newspaper. You're not afraid, and you're not a violent lady, but you're not afraid to give your opinion, because I know you're like me. Our military fought and died to give us the right to live free, to talk free, and neither one of us have a problem exercising our First Amendment rights, do we?
No, Bob, and thank you for having me today, or asking me to come up and hang out with you.
Well, I was mad because you always write good opinions in the newspaper, and you've been avoiding me. I know I'm not the best looking guy in town, but damn, but that's why I invited you up, because I know I would get the straight crap. Yeah, about lost that one. Get this. You can't hardly say straight without using that other word. You know, it's difficult. Carl's over there going to giving me hell here. But Dorothy, what the hell is going on in East St. Louis with everything? I mean, you've lived it. You've been down there, and you see it firsthand every day. When, and I know this is a rhetorical question to you, but when do you think the people of East St. Louis are going to wise up and come off the plantation?
Well, Bob, what they have done is to fill East St. Louis full of less fortunate and less educated people. And the ones that the homeowners, such as myself, are seniors now. And the seniors just don't want to get involved with that mess because they're old and they're tired. All they want is just a good, clean community with some police protection.
Yeah, well, have you been getting that recently?
No, unfortunately, we're without a lot of staff. And, you know, when I bought my home 40 years ago, if they had gave me a picture of East St. Louis and said, this is how it's going to look, I never would have bought it. But unfortunately, I didn't know a community could look like East St. Louis is looking as of today.
Well, you know what amazes me, Dorothy? And I'm a white guy, as everybody knows, crazy white guy. I'm by far from a racist. But every time I talk racial issues, some black enemy of mine will say, hey, see, that son of a bitch is a racist. And I say this, Dorothy, if somebody has cancer, somebody has a disease, and it's not addressed and not taken care of, it ain't never going to get no better. And I say down in East St. Louis, they've divided and conquered. And I'm a proud white man, but sometimes I'm ashamed of what some of my white brothers and sisters do. These bastards in Belleville, the Kerns, the Spriggs, the Barasivics, these no good son of a bitches have kept you guys down on the plantation. And I say, they give you a fish you're going to eat today. Me, Carl Officer, the members of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition, when we get elected, we're going to give everyone a fishing pole so they can fish for themselves, so they can be independent of us, independent of politics. But Dorothy, and I know you can, and Carl, you can chime in. I know you guys can't speak for the entire black community, but it's the black community's fault because, they'll just take a little bit without fighting for more. They'll just take a little bit. I know they're desperate, and the white men up here in Belleville shouldn't do that, but they give a little bit to the proud black community, and the proud black community says, hey, something's better than nothing. But every 2 years, every 4 years, they get these guys elected. Kern's got a big billboard up with his ugly mug, that vain son of a bitch, for a better tomorrow. Families helping families. This lousy lying son of a bitch, they haven't done anything, Dorothy, for 40 years. And again, you and Carl, you can chime in. I know you guys can't speak for the black community, but as proud black people, aren't you guys tired of the crap? They talk about Black Lives Matter. Every lives matter, but they don't give a damn about anybody's lives but their family's lives in Belleville.
Well, good morning, Bob.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Fine.
I think that I can make some comments on it, but first I want to remind you, remember last year you and I went up to Freeburg, went to a high school football game?
Yeah, we did.
And we got a chance to meet the superintendent.
Yeah, he was a great
saw
guy.
The former superintendent. And I'm just shocked this morning to hear that you're talking that he passed.
Yeah.
And my prayers, my condolences go out to everyone in Freeburg, particularly to the students and the staff out there, because you got a good superintendent.
He did a great job.
Hard to replace. But let me share with you what I do know, and Dorothy is a witness to this. We've got a silent majority. Remember Richard Nixon used to talk about the silent majority? That's
what got him elected.
There are I like to estimate or guesstimate, there's probably about 26 to 3,200 people in East St. Louis, homeowners that are in their 60s, early 70s, who at one time were maybe very active, now are retired, and they just don't want to be involved verbally or right on the front lines. But I guarantee you, I'm hearing them every day. You remember about 3 weeks ago, I came up and told you I was sitting in the basement of a church, and about 6 old ladies came up to me in their late 70s and 80s and said, I listen to Bob all the time. I may not like the way he says it, but I agree with everything he's saying. Those persons are going to make a major difference on November the 8th. Then they got to come right back out next April when the municipal and local elections come out. I can say this probably with better clarity than anyone else in East St. Louis politics. They've never had an opportunity to exercise any independence until you came along. Because before, it was always tied to a machine. The machine always had the money, the influence, and the corruption. They can't figure you out.
I can't figure me out.
Yeah, they can't buy you off. They can't embarrass you. They can't scare you. And at the end of the day, they're just sitting and going, what do we do? Some of the opportunities that have been missed over the years in East St. Louis have an opportunity now, have a realistic shot, but it's not going to be a one-day deal. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some leadership. And I think that's one of the reasons, I know that's one of the reasons St. Clair County Freedom Coalition was founded. And it's not just East St. Louis, but it's throughout the county, whether it's in Allerton or Brooklyn or Belleville or Lebanon or Freeburg. There are forces, evil forces, that want to continue this good old boy syndrome, that want to continue this culture of corruption. And at the end of the day, they don't even know how bad they are to themselves. They're destructive to themselves, but they don't know another way other than to tear you down, try to hurt you, how to hurt your family, and then try to oppress. And I'm going to end by saying this. That leadership you're talking about, Dorothy and I know this for a fact. We work with men and have worked with men and women who are black, who are very educated on paper. They got the paper. They've got the degree. They've got the diploma. They got the certificate. But they have no moral conscience. And they have no guidance in their hearts and in their spirit. And therefore, they are worse than any white culprit, if you want to make it on a racial issue.
Right.
Because if I like to think, you know what kind of business I'm in the funeral business. I've never seen a white man come into East St. Louis and kill anybody in my community. And I bury more people than anybody, more black people than anybody. But I also see a white guy can come in with a briefcase and steal more than 100 black guys with a machine gun.
You know, Mayor, you're right. I will tell you on that note, I believe that's just as devastating, and I like that word because the religious people use that, devastation. That's just as devastating as a murder, because that's what these guys with these suitcases are coming down. They're coming down and they're killing, not physically, but financially killing the people of East St. Louis.
Absolutely. When you and I had this conversation last week, when you take away a man or woman's livelihood to provide for their family, and you do that by taxes, you do that by keeping them away from good jobs, you do that by using discriminatory practices, you might as well have put a gun to their head.
Yeah, it's death at the end. Let's take this caller before we go to break. Go ahead, caller. You're on the dark side.
Yeah, Bob, I've called in before, but I live in Madison County. My name is Don.
Don.
You probably heard me, yeah. The radical thing about the pigskin and everything. But anyway, what I want to say is our courts in Madison County are really terrible. And, I listen to you every day, but I can't get involved with your elections and everything because I can't vote or anything. But when you said that you're going to move up to Madison County next is really great, because I know a lot of people in Madison County that listen to you. They listen to you every day.
Well, thank them, sir. I appreciate that.
No, we appreciate you, because you're giving people hope, and you're going to start giving people here hope. Madison County is the laughing thing of the whole United States because of our courts. We got people that sue in Texas that come up here to the court, and we have to pay for this. The person that wins down in Texas doesn't pay anything. And I just looked on the news the other day, and they're talking about they're going to have to raise our taxes in the state, in Madison County, because the court system is going broke. But now, if we only took care of our cases in Madison County, we'd be okay. But look at all these people from Texas and California and all that. They're coming here and suing and taking the money and going back to Texas.
Yeah, Don, you're exactly right. And that's what's happening in St. Clair County, too. We're kind of joined at the hips with corruption in St. Clair and Madison County. But these guys are the rainmakers. They can come down here, and you know why? Because they'll get the God Spragues in St. Clair County. They'll get the God Sprague, whoever the hell the leader is up in Madison County, and they'll take care of them. They'll put them on the payroll as one of their attorneys. They'll walk into the courtroom, and you know what goes on. Don, thank you very much, and thank everybody in Madison County. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM. Insane Broadcasting, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio, and we are, as always, very, very proud to be the Patriot. This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're You're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM. Insane Broadcasting, America's bi-state voice of freedom, Radical Radio, and we are, as always, proud, very, very proud to be the Patriot. If you've just tuned in with me today, an honored guest, the beautiful lady inside and out, Mrs. Dorothy Joshway. Yeah, you know what? Now I'm going to say Mr. because I got to say this. She's got bigger testicles than most men. I got to get that off my chest. This lady will fight the fight when most men will back off. And and that's a compliment to you, Dorothy. You are one hell of a woman. And you know what? If you were a man, you'd be really one hell of a man because you're not afraid to fight the fight. And Mr. Carl Officer, who's been fighting the fight forever. Off the air, we sit here and talked a little bit candidly. We talk about Black Lives Matter. And we're going to get into that. But I got to say one thing, and it's black and white because there's enough ass wipes to go around for every color, every nationality. Why the hell... If you're going to protest, but why do these protests have to end up in violence, in destruction? I say, let these protesters go. Please stay away. Don't get frozen bottles of water thrown and knock your teeth out. Stay away. Let them just tear up everything. They become criminals. If you're a protester in this great country, we can protest. We can demonstrate. But you can't be a criminal. There's nothing in the Constitution, nothing in the Bill of Rights that says you can be a criminal. Now, that says you can protest, legal, rightful assembly. You got every right to your First Amendment. But your First Amendment doesn't include throwing concrete bricks and rocks at police officers. But it just appears to me that they're looking to antagonize, and I said it yesterday. You don't see the 10 minutes of these crap bums, both black and white, men and women. There's enough to go around. Spitting in these police officers' faces, getting up in their faces, taunting them. But as soon as the policeman loses it because we're human beings, then all of a sudden all the cameras go on. You only see part of it. And it just pisses me off why there has to be all this devastation. They got to tear up police cars. They've got to do this. And to be honest, I'm a white guy. When something like this happens and they chant Black Lives Matter, and there's a lot of white people involved in it, it just hurts their cause. What do you think, Dorothy?
Well, Bob, I've been studying the situation a little bit. And as far as Black Lives Matter, what they're trying to say is that the white police officers are less tolerant of other races than they are their own race. And probably because they feel more comfortable with their own race, they can walk up to them and talk to them, or they could try to talk them down.
Well, that's on both sides, though, too, Dorothy. I think the black officers, to be honest, and I don't want to cut you off, but I've got a lot of black friends, but there's some black people that I don't know, and until I get to know them, I got to be honest, I feel a little uncomfortable, and I would think you guys would feel the same way with white people until you don't hate them, you don't dislike them, you just don't feel as comfortable in your skin until you get to know them. Do you think?
Yeah, but with police officers, they're supposed to protect and serve.
Well,
so
that's right.
You're supposed to feel comfortable with them no matter what the race, no matter what the colors are.
Well, you got a point, but you're supposed to, Dorothy, but human nature doesn't dictate that. But go ahead.
Let me tell you something. Human nature tells me, Bob, I'm uncomfortable with anybody that's got a gun and a badge and the authority to do whatever they want to do. I'm 64. I got enough sense whether the officer's black or whether he's white. If he's hollering at me, he's got a gun, he's got a badge, he's going to have the most cooperative son of a gun he's ever seen in his life.
That's
in
good.
Carl Officer. I'll wait. You can violate my rights. Let me at least live long enough to get to a courtroom, okay? But there's no need of me telling anybody, all those brothers, man, I wouldn't let him do that. No, he can say what he can call me any name he wants. He can grab me, put the handcuffs on me. Okay, fine. I'd rather have handcuffs than to be getting cut open at the city morgue.
Yeah.
But let me share something with you. I think that we're partly buying into that myth that the media wants to place that Dorothy was talking about. The media continues to separate us. There's something that's simple. When you talk about the violence, I'm going to go back to 1982. I'm at the Cardinal baseball game, the 7th game of the World Series when they won, sitting there at downtown Old Busch Stadium. I come out of the stadium, and I see a bunch of people take a bi-state bus and turn it over right there at Keener Plaza. What were they protesting, okay? They burned a bi-state bus in downtown St. Louis. The Detroit Tigers win a baseball game in Detroit a couple of years ago. They burned police cars and everything else in downtown Detroit. We have a crazy, violent nation that seems to believe that we can celebrate by destroying other people's property or public property. And you take it one step further, even before the nation was a nation, they celebrate the Tea Party. The people, white guys disguised as Indians, get on a boat and throw somebody else's property in the Boston Harbor, and they celebrate it. At the end of the day, that's lawlessness, that's burglary, robbery, whatever you would describe. But we have a nation that likes violence when we get through with it. And what I am an advocate of is that you must be responsible individually. Bob Romanik does not have to go to church. He doesn't have to believe in God, but he has to believe in giving the other person their space, their rights, and dignity and respect. When you look at ministers, when you look at politicians, when you look at leaders who talk a good game but don't do anything behind it, how disrespectful can that be? You're going to say, I'm Reverend so-and-so, I'm a good Christian, but you're out just as bad, dogging out your neighbor without any respect.
Yeah. We've got some callers. Go ahead, caller. You're on the dark side.
Bob, this is Dave from Missouri. If it wasn't for that lovely lady sitting in there, you know what I'd call you. So I'll say, how are you doing, Bob? And Mr. Officer, the Apollo Creed of East St. Louis, how are you, sir?
Oh, my God. Well, you must have paid him to say that, Carl. Go ahead, Dave. What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
You know what? I'm in law enforcement, as you know, Bob.
Right.
I recently came back in. I came into the U.S. from Niagara Falls, Ontario, okay? I had my badge. I had my ID. I never met a bunch of unprofessional border agents in my life as I did the U.S. border agents, okay? They detained me for 40 minutes. I had my whole family with me. Now, again, had my badge, had my ID. Never once told me why they detained me. Pardon my language. Do you think I pissed, bitched, and moaned? I wanted to.
Right.
But I could have won the battle, but I would have lost the war. Now, I'm in law enforcement, okay?
Uh-huh.
So I hope people listening see the point. I'm in law enforcement, and I was treated the same way, and they knew I was in law enforcement. So the point I'm making is unfortunately, there are a lot of people that wear the badge that shouldn't, but the majority of the police officers do the right thing.
Hey, Dave, thank you very much. And let me tell you, Dave, when I was a chief, I told my guys two things. Number two, go out and protect the citizens. But number one, and I say this to you and every police officer, every first responder, number one, most important, is make it home to your family, because that's the most important thing. And you're right, Dave. When I was a chief, we had some good police officers, had some bad ones. But see, what kind of makes me mad with this, not Black Lives Matters, but these protests, there are a lot of bad policemen. Not a lot, but not a big percentage. But whenever the black guy on TV said, well, don't hold this one black guy who killed 5 police officers in Dallas because, he's not the vast majority. He doesn't speak for all of us. And I agreed with that. And I'm not holding the black community responsible, but why not the black community, but some of the radical blacks and whites hold the police community responsible for a couple bad apples? Can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Dorothy, give me your take, and come on, give it to us.
Well, Bob, I do understand the Black Lives Movement and what they're about. They're trying to say they want black people to be treated like the white counterparts of the other races. But my main concern and my main focus is the murders that happens in our community, and I just wish that the community would rise up when we have murders in our community. East St. Louis have had 10 murders so far this year. And that's just a ridiculous number. And I will be addressing that at council meeting Thursday about the 10 murders, because they go into executive session about who's going to get paid, how much they're going to get paid, and everything like that. But they never go into executive session and talk about how they're going to stop or lower the murder rate in my community.
Yeah, you're right, Dorothy. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, anybody want to call, please do. I want to talk about, like Chicago, like St. Louis. And if Black Lives Matter, where the hell are the black politicians not demanding that the policemen go to jail for doing wrong? And if you're a policeman and you do wrong, we've got a judicial system. We have a court system. We've got a constitution. If the guy's wrong, let's take him through the court system. Let's don't tear up our communities. But I got to say, if the proud black people, well, I'll take that back, because they try, they just don't have the resources. If the black leaders who the proud black people put in these positions, if they would fight as hard to get this black on black crime out, to get these murder rates down, instead of fighting just because one lousy, no count, good for nothing, white ass wipe guy with a bum with the badge killed somebody, if they would fight that hard for their community, there'd be a lot less killings going on and a lot more black people, innocent black people, walking the streets. We'll be back right after this break. This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM, insane broadcasting at its finest, America's bi-state, I was going to say bisexual, I'm trying to be serious here, America's bi-state voice of freedom, a radical radio, and we are, as always, proud, very, very proud to be the Patriot. This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM, insane broadcasting, America's bi-state voice of freedom, radical radio, and we are, as always, very, very proud to be the Patriot. I just got a text from a good friend of mine. He's an ex-police officer, and how poignant is this? Here's what he says, and Tim, I hope you don't get offended by me reading this. I hope it wasn't too personal. This is Tim Owens. I resigned after 16 years as a sheriff's department because I was, well, here, and he says he wasn't sure, something happened. He wasn't sure that what happened would affect his judgment as a cop. And here's the best part. Here's the best part of all. He said it might affect his judgment as a cop. So the bottom line, let me get it again. Rather than tarnish the badge, I resigned. Now what a great guy. Here's the guy didn't know for whatever reason. Hell, I got depressed as a policeman, seeing all the homicides, all the children that were killed, everything that went on, and it makes you depressed. But for a gentleman to say, "Hey, rather than tarnish the badge, I'd move on," and I think that's what a lot of these officers maybe need to do. Because I'm going to tell you, being an ex-police officer, and I'm not blaming the police department and my experience on how crazy I am. I'm just a crazy, ignorant son of a bitch. But it does take an effect on you. Dorothy, before we go, we talked about, and you've talked about Black Lives Matter, but agree or not, that shouldn't the black community come together and worry about a white policeman killing a black man? But let's not just take all of our focus there. Let's take care of the entire community, and let's take care of our people, both black and white. Agree or not?
Well, I do agree, and my father always taught charity begins at home, then spread abroad. So my thing is to take care of your community, and then you can go out and protest about other issues and stuff. But you need to be protesting in your own community about the murders that occurs in your own community and try to resolve that.
Yeah. Dorothy, we're going to give you I'll give Carl the last minute. We'll give you the second to the last minute. What do you have to say to the good people of East St. Louis? And I want to tell you, Dorothy, it was an honor and a privilege to have you because you do take an interest in your community. You do fight day in and day out for your community. And people ought to appreciate you, and there ought to be more people like you because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a loud voice to make a big change down in East St. Louis.
You're correct. And the last word would be that I like Mayor Hicks because we have had less murders since she's been the mayor. And then for you, Bob, as a state representative, you can drive by my house and see your sign. It looks beautiful in the yard.
Well, thank you, Dorothy. But here, Dorothy, here's what I'll say to that, and I appreciate your support. But I know about you. If I get elected with your help, Carl's help, and the people of East St. Louis and my district help, and I don't go up there and make a positive change, you're going to be all over my ass, and that's what I expect you to do. That's what I expect everybody to do to these politicians. But Dorothy, here, 40 years these guys in St. Clair County, now they're saying, hey, things are going to change. We're going to if you don't make a difference after 2 or 4 years, Dorothy, kick our lame asses out. And I know you'll be right there to do it, and I respect you and applaud you for that.
I agree, Bob, and thank you for having me. And I wish to see you as the next state rep, and I wish to see ex-mayor officer as the coroner because
there's nobody better qualified than that man.
The job description fits him to a T.
Well, hopefully the people of East St. Louis, the people of St. Clair County understand. Again, Mrs. Dorothy Joshway, beautiful lady inside and out. Thank you for taking your time and coming up. Mayor, you do have the last word.
Well, 3 quick things. I do support Black Lives Matter, but I support All Lives Matter more. And there are 3 things that I think that the black media ought to ask itself the question of, what would the city be like, any city be like without the police? That's scary.
Right.
Second thing is that for those persons who are on the picket line, how about going into the employment line and try to become a police officer to protect and serve and work in your community? And then the third thing, if you're not qualified to be a police officer, you don't want to be one, you get all this hate and anger about what the police don't do. How about submitting some positive introductions on what can be done to help improve the training? I got to say this, and it's going to be controversial. I don't think we need any more meetings. I listen to these people around the country. We need to have a conversation. Oh, the hell with having a conversation. We need to do something.
We need some results.
I'm so sick and tired of hearing this leader and that leader. We need to sit down and have a real conversation. I live in East St. Louis. We've been having real conversations for 40 years. And what I have found is that talk is cheap. Action is important, and if you start with yourself, don't look for a gang or a group of folks to do something. You start by being accountable, but for your own actions each and every day, and God bless you.
Mr. Carl Officer, thank you very much. Dorothy Joshway, as always, it's an honor and a privilege. People, you got to understand, these ass-wipe, no-count, good-for-nothing, rotten bastard politicians, white and black, they want to keep us separated. They want to keep us divided. East St. Louis, a great city at one time, can become great again. The blacks and the whites have to come together. The whites can't stay out of East St. Louis, and the blacks can't keep leaving East St. Louis. We have to address this problem. And me as a state representative, I promise you, I swear to you, that I'll go up to Springfield, maybe not lower your taxes, but I'll be the son or daughter that you had that griped about the motorcycle he never got and aggravated you to death. I will go to Springfield and I'll aggravate these no good rotten bastards until they do something. East St. Louis is a great community, has great people, and I say it every day. I've said it for the last 7 years on the radio. How East St. Louis goes is how this whole county goes. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio. And you've been listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM. Simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM. Insane broadcasting, America's bi-state voice of freedom. Radical Radio. And we are, as always, very, very proud to be the Patriot. Come on back tomorrow. We'll be on this same situation, that all lives matter. Black lives matter. Yes, they do. And at some point in time, there has to be a little special treatment. We have to even the playing field. But we can't even the playing field by stepping on anybody else's rights. The whites will give. The blacks need to give. We all need to compromise, people. Everybody's going to have to give in this game. Nobody can sit there and say, I ain't giving, I ain't moving. To move forward, we all have to back off a little bit. We have to think. We have to think intelligently. We have to come together, and we have to stop this problem, have to stop this violence, not just out in the streets, but with these protesters. It's all violence. We need to stop all violence, and the only way we can do that is sincerely and seriously address the situation that we have in hand. Come together, black, white, men and women, unite, and we can do that. The common denominator to me, not the public servants, but these rotten, asswipe, good-for-nothing, political, parasitical punks that we call politicians that create this kind of atmosphere. So let's continue to unite, to expose these low-life, scum-sucking, cockroach-sucking son of a bitches. And at the end of the day, destroy these bastards. Destroy these bastards politically, of course, right here on the dark side.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha. To the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time. And I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their clean white coats. And they're coming to take me away,